then you cause it to rise from the west. So change it. Change it if you have power over it. If you're the Lord, if you think that you're the one that deserves to be worshipped, then you do it. So then in that case, then the disbeliever, he had to stop. You see, Ibrahim alayhi salam, he didn't mess around. He knew if I go down this path and I tell him, look, your argument was dumb, then it's just going to keep going down that way and it's not going to get anywhere. So let me go to the other side. I'm going to take it up a notch and bring another evidence. In which case the disbeliever, or the king, in this case, had to give up. He said, okay, he was quiet. He was like, and they say in Farsi, he was chup. He was sakit. That's it. He didn't have anything to say. Because he couldn't. The argument was done. There's something else in the beginning of these verses that's interesting. It says, have you not thought about him? Alam tara ila alladhi. Right here it's a question, right? This question, in the sciences of rhetoric of the Arabic language, they say this question, استفهام للتعجب من شأن ذلك الكافر. استفهام للتعجب من شأن ذلك الكافر. It's a question. It's like a ta'ajjub. Someone, Ahmed, throw it out. Translation. Exclamation. It's got ta'ajjub is like not admiration, no. Amazement. But it's like it's an amazement in regards to his stupidity. Like, can you believe this guy that Ibrahim alayhi salam was arguing with about this situation? It's an amazement at how ridiculous the situation is in itself, that he was disbelieving in Allah. Does it even make sense? It doesn't make sense. Another thing that we can take in the end of these verses is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allah guides not the people who are dhalimeen. Allah guides not the people who are dhalimeen, who are oppressors. Many times in the Quran, and this is something I hope that some of us can look into in the future, should look at the different places where it's إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي such and such. Allah doesn't guide such and such. The dhalimeen, al-fasiqeen, al-qawm al-kafirin, the oppressors, the corrupt people, the disbelievers. So if we look in the Quran, we'll see that Allah in different places is saying, Allah does not guide such and such people. And then if we look at, for example, in this case, Allah does not guide the oppressive people. Then we could say, okay, if we want someone to be guided, we should try to eliminate certain behaviors in them. Like for example, if someone is dhalim, if someone is oppressive, we should try to eliminate that behavior from them so that they can be guided. Because here you have a preventer of guidance. If someone is dhalim, if they're oppressive, then they can't be guided. Allah is saying it. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. He doesn't guide the oppressive people. And this, subhanAllah, should give us something, an insight in terms of the importance of this concept of justice. Justice obviously being the opposite of oppression. And that this is something that's very fundamental in Islam. When Luqman was giving advice to his son, he said, لَا تُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ. Don't associate partners with Allah. إِنَّ الشِّرْكَ لَظُلْمٌ عَظِيمٌ. That verily shirk, associating partners with Allah, is an incredible oppression. An incredible impression. It will cause oppression every single place from the top to the bottom. Because in the end of the day, subhanAllah, sometimes we look at, some people will go to the Eastern countries, maybe the Muslim countries, and will be upset with the way that people act. And then we'll think about the way that sometimes the interactions you have with people here, they have such nice manners. But I want to give something sort of to think about. Okay? When we go over, let's take Egypt as an example, it's close for some of us. When you go to Egypt and you deal with people, and sometimes they can be very tough, can be very harsh, and very, in some ways, oppressive in how you deal with them. But then you look at the way they live. Okay, you live in Egypt, and someone will come to you and you start talking to them, and they ask you, they found out you're from America. They say, you're from America, huh? I say, yeah. How many times a week do you eat meat? Usually on a good day, 3 times a day. So we're averaging about 12 times a week. You don't really tell them that because obviously you can see where the question is coming from. How many times a week do you eat meat? And they're thinking like, yeah, we get to eat meat once a week. Sometimes we get to drink milk. We have one sheikh in San Diego, Sheikh Taha, one time I was talking to him about Algeria. So he said, when we were growing up in Algeria, on holidays we would buy 1 banana. We would buy 1 banana and then open it and slice it up, and every person in the family would get 1 piece. So now you have people that are living in extremely difficult conditions. So it's not strange that they're going to be tough to you, that they're going to act rough to you, that there might be a problem in the way that you deal with them, in the mannerisms that you face. Now you bring it over here, and you have people that are living in like, Bismillah, mashallah, stuff you will not see anywhere else on earth. Imam Mustafa spent time in France. I can tell you France is a developed country, right? It's not like here. It's not as nice as it is here. Everything here is like, look at the walls in this place. Look how nice the carpet is. You don't think about these things. When you go to plug in something in the socket, you realize the socket is nice, like it's clean. You plug it in, it works. There's a cover on it. This doesn't exist everywhere. So when you're dealing with these people here, and they're being nice to you, that's because they are chilling. They're doing well. Most people are not facing that much hardship. They have to work, yeah, but when they work, they get their bills paid and they get to eat meat. They get to drink milk, even though the prices go up, but they still get to have it. So what do you think is going to happen as soon as things get tough? You think you're going to see those same manners? Because if you don't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is why إِنَّ الشِّرْكَ لَظُلْمٌ عَظِيمٌ, that shirk is a great oppression. It's a great oppression because here's the deal. If you don't believe in something higher than ourselves, if you don't believe in something other than what's material in front of you, then when it comes down to it, you're not going to carry out those manners. You're not going to have them. When it gets tough, it's not going to be there. That same person who was nice to you in the grocery store, were they nice to you right after September 11th? That same person who always smiled at you, were they smiling at you when they all of a sudden got poor? Now when they don't eat meat except for once or twice a week, are they smiling? Are they nice? When it has to do with my own benefit, but I know I'm cheating, what's going to stop a person from cheating when it's for their benefit if it's not Allah? Nothing. So that's why shirk, associating partners with Allah, is a great oppression. Because without the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, everything goes haywire. Everything goes crazy. People just do whatever they want at any time. These are some of the reflections we can take from these verses, but there's some other things as well. Another thing is that Ibrahim alayhi salam, look at his confidence. He's in front of a king. He's in front of a king. Okay? How many people you have like a big job interview, and you go into that job interview and you're sweating, scared about what you're wearing, worried about your resume, don't know what to say when they're going to ask you questions. You're going to go into the professor's office hours and you're going to get asked about your exam. You're not sure how you did. You're upset about all these things. Ibrahim alayhi salam is going in front of a king. A king, not even a president. Even presidents theoretically have some limits upon their power. You know, like, no, I won't go into that. But king, you know, he's a king. He has no limit on his power. But Ibrahim alayhi salam is going into him and he's standing his ground. He says, what's your Lord? Who's your Lord? Why should I? He gives him his answer. He's not worried about it. So the question is then, what gives a person this kind of confidence? And this is something that we should really seek after. Because you know, you deal with some people in life, it's like every single situation they get in, they're cool. They know how to handle it. They're not worried. Every single thing that happens, it takes them back to Allah. They remember Allah. They remember that Allah's in charge. And that's the first component of having confidence. The first component of having confidence is putting everything in its place. And to put everything in its place means that we realize that Allah is in charge. Because any situation that we go into, if we realize that Allah is in charge, that puts a different perspective on it. It's like Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, he was asked, how do you go into these rulers and you speak the truth to them? And you tell them not to do this, and you tell them to do this, and you're not even afraid. How do you do that? When you're all alone. And he said, you know how? Because when I go in, I know I'm not alone. I know that when I go in and I'm speaking the truth, number one, Allah is with me. And number two, the angels are with me. And number three, everything in creation is with me. The only thing that's not with me are the few human beings that disobey Allah. That's the minority. So then I go in and I have confidence. So the first way to have confidence, living in our lives, and this is important because sometimes we think we're a minority. In the United States, we think we're a minority. But look at Ibn Taymiyyah, he's going in, he's saying, no, the one who disobeys Allah, he's the minority, or she's the minority. Because you have the entire creation that's in obedience to Allah. And then that little person who's not. I went into Sheikh Tala's office in San Diego the other day. He had this big thing of the universe, so people can move in a little bit more still.